We have a graph that shows what's happened with the mental health situation across the state. Back in 1964, our population in Texas was a little over 10 million, and we had almost 15,000 beds at that time for mental health. As you can see in the red line, the population has grown in Texas to almost 29 million, and the beds have dropped to 2,432 beds. So, comparison, we had one bed for every 700 members of the population, and now we have one bed for every 12,000. And so the state has dropped the ball over the last 20 years in not providing adequate coverage and support for the mental health community that we have. And that community is growing because our state's growing, but also the many wars that we've had through the last several decades where these folks are coming home, the veterans, with issues that many times were caused by that service that they provided our country. I got a email this morning about state is furnishing or refurbishing about 200 beds at Rusk Hospital. These are new, modern facilities for mental health, but that's not 200 new rooms. It replaces 200 old rooms. So we're still a ways from getting this thing fixed. The state is committed $745 million, which is a lot of money for additional and more modern mental health facilities. But when you look at this Rusk facility that's being added, it's only adding 200 beds, and it's costing $200 million. And so, and part of that's from some administrative space, but if you take that out, the cost ends up being about $745 a square foot for all these mental health facility beds. So, in the state, you look across the counties, we have about 80% of our Texas counties are designated as mental health professional shortage areas. In our area, we're just partially covered with enough mental health professionals to cover what our needs are. A lot of this means that it has to come back on us to take care of this. And fortunately, we can. And if we plan right and utilize all of the different areas of resources that are available to us, we can do it. Many counties have not been able to do that. They can't afford to put those kind of facilities in. Therefore, the statewide situation grows much worse. The state of Texas ranks 50th in the nation for the amount it spends per person for mental health care in the state. Being 50th, that's not the kind of score we want to be able to achieve. And so we have a long ways to go. But I will say the counties that have picked up some of this slack, some of the counties have, and that's what we're trying to do as well. We have to be able to take care of our own, and so that's our plan. The jail services, that's the #1 mental illness inpatient facility in our county, and that is a sad state when that's the truth about it. The increased burden on emergency rooms and law enforcement grows due to this population, and so we have to figure out a way to handle this thing differently than we have in the past. Many of these people are not best served in the criminal justice system, but if that's where they're going to end up, then we need to change how the judicial system is in handling these. People with mental health issues are turned away in many different areas, and you can see that all the different areas that really do not handle mental health as efficiently as they could, or some not at all. As a list there, all the different doors to go in, which is schools and housing, health facilities, parks, senior facilities, libraries. All these places do not want people with mental health issues in there because they don't know how to handle them. So that only leaves one door open, and that's the door to the jail. So that's where we get quite a few of them. We've had a huge transition in McLennan County with the jail situation. And just the backstory on the jails that we have, there's Highway 6 and Jack Harwell facility. If you're standing on Highway 6 and looking at them, the Highway 6 facility, or the county facility, is on the left side, and the Jack Harwell facility is on the right side. The commissioners back in about 2007 and 8 were working on trying to figure out what they're going to do with their overflow of jail population. So the decision was made, let's build a jail, and then we will have a private contractor utilize that jail and have a contractor requirement that they take our overflow, and then the rest of their business is to go out with other counties and bring in inmates at a fee. And that worked quite well for a while, but the cost, our cost of doing business in them rose significantly, and there was other issues that were coming up insofar as them being in compliance, and that's not the way. Major Armstrong has told me that's not the way we run jails, and we don't want this one run that way either. So a decision was made to, in that contract, it was insofar as in discussions with the third party, they actually pulled the trigger and said, well, we'll just go somewhere else. And so it gave us a great opportunity to take that facility over. And in this picture, you'll see a group of folks here. The far left is our chief, Kilcrease, and then our high sheriff, Parnell, handing the keys to Major Ricky Armstrong, who's the jail administrator. Let me tell you a little bit about I keep calling him Captain. He just got a promotion as Major. He has a passion to help. There's two things that he talks about quite often is how we handle mental health in the jail, and the community needs to do a better job in helping the jail address it. And secondly, the reintegration program of getting these folks back out of jail, get them out of that revolving door whenever that's possible. So it was, I think, a huge and daunting task for the Sheriff's Department to take that over, but they've got the kind of leadership to make that work. In behavioral health, the services offered by Highway 6 and Jack Harwell are psychiatric services. Then we have a veterans wing. Major Armstrong was a veteran. He puts veteran guards in those areas. It's a common thing for those folks that are veterans that have issues to be around other veterans because they have a common thing to talk about. There's a certain amount of regiment. There's a certain amount of things that they expect about doing things on time and in sequence. And so that was a great idea to have that facility structured that way. Also, the Christian Women's Job Corps works in there, the reintegration services, and a partnership with MHMR and McLennan Community College for work-ready skills training. As I mentioned, the Behavioral Health Leadership Team is a group of very dedicated and interested people in the community that have positions that can affect how we handle the mental health situation. The Tom Stanton and the Rapport Foundation host the meeting. It's very well organized. Our purpose is, first of all, get our arms around what the problems are, try to get the data to support that, and then find out what the solutions are. We bring outside resources in, which primarily pertains to many of the foundations, not only the ones in our community, which are very much involved, but the larger foundations from around the state that have a passion to address this mental health situation. The one issue that we found out is we have a crisis treatment center, and it's a small facility that we can bring people that have mental health events into there that have not committed a major crime. And, many times it's criminal trespassing and things like that. They don't know where they are, or they're in the wrong place, or generally drugs and alcohol are involved. You bring them in the crisis treatment center, one of the things you have to have is medical clearance. And so if you don't have that, if they come in and they've got high blood pressure, exhibiting symptoms of diabetes or alcohol, drug abuse, or maybe injured, then they have to go to the emergency room. And that's not a good place to go. They do the best they can, but these people have a mind of their own when to act out, and it can turn into something very serious. And so separating that out is the best thing. So the decision was made between the city and the county to fund, we put in $80,000 from the county, $80,000 from the city to be able to have a medical clearance staff there, so we do not have to carry them to the emergency rooms. This would allow us to get patients medically cleared, but also give them mental health treatment at that moment, not wait. And that was the problem going to the jail, trying to get medical treatment rather than punish them for a crime that they committed, when that's possible. We think now that we'll be able to take in as many as 700 individuals into that area and for treatment, and maybe to be moved to state beds or maybe treated locally, find out if they're veterans or not, connect them with the VA, and those things. So it gives us a chance to deal with it with professional people that deal with mental health on the spot. One of the other solutions that we have established is a veterans treatment court, and through the help of Judge Gary Coley, has volunteered to lead the Veterans Treatment Court and has given us a lot of ideas and has done some research and looked for other resources to help make this happen. Let's just say someone gets arrested and it could be drug or alcohol or other things. And there's ways to handle this situation and try to figure out how to have the best outcomes for this person, yet keep everyone safe. So having professionals in the judicial system is very important. And that includes the district attorney's office and Barry Johnson's group to be able to work with the judge and the prosecutors. We also, if they're indigent, can provide indigent legal representation as well. The goals for veterans treatment is to provide referral services for substance abuse, mental health, academic and vocational skills, recommendations for housing, assistance, outpatient and transition support, and job placement recommendations. The Veterans Treatment Court participates with numerous areas for a goal of treating the mental health, dealing with substance abuse, which can be and/or, and then general health care too. As you know, many of these people have bad health situations. The veterans booked into McLennan County Jail is growing. In 2016, we had a little under 700 booked in there, and it jumped to 2018, we had 910. Not exactly sure, but I think one thing we're more aware of how we can deal with is identifying them as mental health inmates. So they might get counted more that way, but the series of wars that's been going on throughout the world, and our folks coming back here is also, I think, has a impact as well. The different programs that we go through is to try to actively place the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, the McLennan County Veterans Services, the McLennan County District Attorney's Office, Baylor Law Veterans Clinic, and Josh Josh is here, and Josh has been very helpful in getting us lined up on understanding what the other counties have done that can move us forward into that, and where Baylor Law can help as well. Also, the McLennan County Community Supervision and Corrections Department, as well as the Heart of Texas Veterans One Stop, which one of our staff people, Steve Hernandez, is responsible for that. So you can see that it's a big issue for our community, And we have a great opportunity to be a leader in the state on how to handle these issues. And we've got the talent to do it, and we've got the desire to do it. As the community understands this, I think that there's no question that it would prove out to be something that we should continue to do, because really, if it's handled right, it saves money. So it's a business factor as well. So really, it's hard. You know, when I first looked at the mental health deal, I was thinking, man, I don't know if I can get really excited in this, but I'm really excited about it because I know we can move the needle. And so that's where we're going forward. Fun thing to talk about is the venue project. It's a great deal. It's a way for us to be able to pull revenue from folks that visit our town and stay at our hotel rooms and rent our vehicles, to be able to take that 2% tax on the room revenue and 5% on car rentals, and pledge that towards some debt service to build some facilities that would bring more people into town. The main scope of the project is to try to have places, venues for events that would make a significant economic impact back to the community. We were working several years ago, and this is back before I was county judge, I guess, working with the Heart of Texas Fair to trade some property with the school district. And so we came up with a plan, and so the school called us back and said, we got a problem. The city says we have to build a sidewalk, and there's no place to go on the sidewalk. And so we called Dale Fessler up, and we all sat down and talked about it, and came up with the idea that all this land's contiguous out at WISD, Lake Air Little League. That property is owned by the city, and then where the Heart of Texas Fair and Extra Event Center is owned by the county. So the idea was to come up with a master development plan to see what might happen. And so that's where the dream came up of building this project. There's a layout of the land before development that you can kind of see. The green buildings are on the county side. But kind of moving forward, we had Populous, a famous architectural firm that does a lot of different events. And you might recognize their name. They were involved with the McLean Stadium project and many other big ones across the nation. And so they were selected. They were selected to do the preliminary renderings of it. And then moving through the process, we got enough information to put together what we wanted to be on a proposition to go to the voters. And the voters were excited. They won by 67%, which is huge. And so we were very happy about that. The design really comes from the kind of the heritage of this area, where there was a lot of farming going on, and part of it was cotton, and cotton stems go up and move out. I mean, I would have never come to this conclusion, but creative architectural people do, that the structure should look something like that as far as the angles of the different supports and those things. But it's coming along real good. In the process after the vote, we went through the process of selecting a general contractor at risk, and we had I believe we had five different applicants in it, and it was awarded to John W. Irvin Construction Company, to the table right back there. And so far, Mr. Irvin has kept us on time and under budget, and I think we can all like and appreciate that. Working closely with WISD and the city to finalize their plans, and looking forward to getting that done. The zoo bond issue, that's many people think that's a city issue, but actually it was a county issue in regard to getting it on the ballot and financing this new construction. The commissioners were unanimous to support this proposition, and of course they did a great job of promoting it, and Now they didn't ask me how to build any of this. I would have told them to keep the penguins away from things that'll eat them. So that would be, I'm sure they will. I don't think penguins are real good at defending themselves. That passed at a high percentage in the 60s, wasn't it? Some 65, 4, something like that. Pretty good. And so great support. We're going to sell those bonds next summer. And the reason why at that time, because that's when some of our debt drops off. And so we reallocate that debt service to these new bonds. So it does not affect the tax rate. The INS rate will be the same. And so I think that was a big factor in making it pass as well. One of our other projects, and I'll move along quickly here, the water planning. Back in 2011, which we call the drought of record, where for 1 year it was dry as any 1 year on record. And what happens there is the majority of the population of the county is, I think the majority, Wiley, would be on treated surface water, and then some have the option. Some municipalities and water districts have a chance to go either way. But what happened, because the water was low in the lake, that became a limiting factor, so there was more reliance on the Southern Trinity. And the Southern Trinity is our groundwater system here, and unlike many of the other groundwater systems, does not recharge very well. It probably recharges to some extent, but we could be out of the Trinity in a couple of generations or less if we used it at the same rate we've been using. So, and I've said this many a time, one of the wisest things that the city leaders have done in our community to help us move forward in economic development and quality of life and everything is raising Lake Waco 7 feet. It gives them additional water to be able to treat and sell into these communities when there's abundance of water. And then that way you save the Southern Trinity for when you have these other drought areas. So we farmed the McLennan County Rural Water District, McLennan County Water Resource Group, and to try to identify these problems. And every city in the county and every water system belongs to this group, and they attend. They get it. And so one of the things that came up, besides trying to preserve the water in the Southern Trinity, is the fact that there's a high arsenic level in eastern McLennan County. It's high according to the EPA, who makes the rules. Whenever these wells were drilled back in the 60s, the parts per billion of arsenic you could have and be okay was 50 parts per billion, and they lowered it to 10, so it put them out of compliance. And so those people have been out there on that water system for all these years, drinking that water, and I'm one of them. And you can see I'm a perfect example of a human being. So it can't hurt you. They say it kills worms too. So in these issues, we joined up with the city of Waco folks, and we've been to D.C. several times because this is, we think, federal issue. We can fix the problem. We can get the city of Waco to run lines out into these rural areas and fix this problem by diluting the water that's in the ground system with Waco treated water and get that level back up. And, as I always say, the solution to pollution is dilution. And so that's what we can do. The problem is, time we do all this, it costs a lot of money, and the cost at the meter is too high for people to buy. So we're trying to find some gap fix in this to be able to lower that cost of distributing that water, and where it's affordable at the well side, at the meter side. You can see a picture there of a group of us that went to see Congressman Flores, but while there, we also, yeah, I'm about done. Actually, that was a little rude. I guess it beats a hook. Anyhow, we're working on those things fast and furious, and we're trying to get those solved. The road situations, we've reported on them before, this kind of status. Surrey Ridge out at Robinson is about done. We should be ready for in early 2020 to get it done. Ritchie Road, we did a partnership with the city, and that should be completed in sometime in December of 2020. And then Spiegelville Road is a larger project that we're working on, and that's a fairly expensive project that will be finished in the spring of 21. And this is to widen and improve the road and to make it safer with the shoulder. And so there's a big population out there that use that road. It's a very important connecting road. And then Chapel Road. Chapel Road has a lot more challenges in that if you've been on it, it's up and down. It's very tight. The people pulling out of the driveways are very dangerous. And so that is a pretty significant piece of work out there. It's going to cost about $9 million, and it'll be, we'll start construction in 21. We always have challenges and opportunities, and one of them is the state legislature said that if you have a revenue cap of 3.5%, and so as an example, last year we had a 6% increase in revenue due to property values going up. The tax rate didn't change, and we hope to hold the line on that. With the revenue cap, we're trying to figure that out now. We're applying next year's rules in regards to the mandated cap to this past year's budget to kind of see how we end up. I think the good part of that is, well, there's not a lot of good part to it, I guess, but we can weather the storm. We had a policy to increase our unassigned fund balance or our cash position to 33% of our expenses, and we reached that goal. And so we have some room to absorb some financial shock if it hits for a little while. Other counties, we feel like, will not be able to do it, and there'll be services cut and hell being raised whenever that happens. So we can kind of watch it happen and not be involved is the plan. The other current growth, which is, growth's good. We have growth within our county. Our judicial system is tight. We need more space. We need more courtrooms. We've got plans to do that. We're trying to do is, first of all, identify inefficiently used space and make it more efficient. And we can fix space we already own for about $125 a square foot, and to go build ground up on the kind of space we need is $250 to $275. So it makes sense to use what you have. It will not increase the parking situation in the downtown area because it's really just expanding what we already have. The other thing is census and redistricting will be coming up. Dale Fissler's out there on the road show. And by the way, I think he said he was a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Is that right? And so anyhow, he's the right guy to sell this thing. He can take something very boring and make it pretty entertaining. And then the last thing, and very important, is the skilled workforce and STEM education. The demand for skilled workforce is outpacing our supply. And we are growing, but a certain segment of our growth is people that are coming in here that really fit in the lower income and more towards the poverty level and unskilled. And so it's important that we focus on that group and get them skilled as quick as we can. And then I know I've been on a few calls on prospects around the country, and several of us, the mayor, myself, and others that have gone and talked to, and they got to have the workforce, and it costs them too much to train them from ground up. And there's all kind of things that they run into, and they're trying to go to places that they don't have to train their workforce in a significant way. So that's something that it's very important, and it's been important for our quality of growth, our economic growth. Again, Mayor, thanks for the relationship that we have and the job that you've done, and we appreciate you very much in the City Council. And I can speak for the Commissioners Court that we look forward to working with the city going forward, and all the cities in the county. Thank you very much.